You know that feeling when you check your bank account and instead of closing the app in horror, you actually smile? Like when you stop calculating whether you can afford that coffee or if buying groceries means eating ramen for the rest of the week. There is a specific number where this shift happens, but it is not what most people think. If you listen to the standard financial gurus, the Dave Ramseys or the Charlie Mungers of the world, they will tell you the magic number is $100,000. They say the first 100K is a bitch, but after that, you can coast. Or they tell you that you aren't wealthy until you hit $1 million. But here's the thing they are missing. There is a much smaller, much more accessible milestone that completely transforms your relationship with money long before you hit six figures. That number is $50,000. My name is Chad, and I spend way too much time thinking about financial psychology and why some people seem to effortlessly build wealth while others stay stuck. Today, we aren't talking about getting rich. We are talking about the invisible barrier. See, wealth building has thresholds. $20,000 is the first threshold. That's safety. But $50,000, that is the threshold where the rules of physics apply differently to your wallet. If $20,000 is pushing the boulder to the top of the hill, $50,000 is the moment gravity switches sides and the boulder starts rolling down the other side faster than you could ever run. In this video, I'm going to show you the math, the psychology, and the trap you need to avoid once you hit this number. Because if you can get to 50K, you have effectively won the game. You just don't know it yet. To understand why $50,000 changes everything, we have to talk about your brain on poverty. When you have $0 to $10,000 saved, your brain operates in what psychologists call survival mode. Every financial decision is filtered through fear. You take the first job offer that comes along because you can't afford to be picky. You stay in a toxic work environment because leaving feels too risky. It's like trying to plan a vacation while your house is on fire. When you hit $20,000, you put the fire out. You get that safety. But at $50,000, you unlock something entirely new: bandwidth. Research shows that having a financial buffer increases your well-being by over 20%. But at $50,000, you have enough buffer to survive not just a rainy day, but a rainy year. Suddenly, your brain stops asking, how do I survive, and starts asking, how do I grow? This is where the micro versus macro shift happens. When you are broke, you obsess over the small stuff. Should I buy the name brand cereal? Is the premium gas worth the extra 20 cents? Should I make coffee at home to save $3? These decisions consume massive amounts of mental energy, but they barely move the needle. The difference between homebrewed coffee and Starbucks is maybe $1,000 a year. It's not nothing, but it won't make you a millionaire. At $50,000, you realize those micro decisions are irrelevant. You stop sweating the $3 coffee and you start focusing on the decisions that swing your net worth by tens of thousands of dollars: your housing, your car, and your investment strategy. This is the first major change. You stop pinching pennies and start plotting strategy. Now, let's get into the numbers because this is where the gamification gets addictive. Most people quit investing because in the beginning, the returns are insulting. If you have $1,000 invested and you get a respectable 10% return, you made $100. That is depressing. You can't live on $100. It doesn't feel like wealth. But take that same 10% return and apply it to $50,000, suddenly you earned $5,000 in a single year. Let's pause on that. $5,000 is not a spreadsheet number. $5,000 is a tangible life upgrade. That is a fully funded Roth IRA. That is an incredible vacation to Europe. That is a used car. And you earned it without lifting a finger. You didn't clock in, you didn't answer an email, and you didn't ask a boss for permission. Your money is finally working hard enough to actually contribute to the household income. The time shrink. But here's the part that will blow your mind: the velocity of money. Let's say you save $10,000 a year. To get to your first $50,000, assuming an 8% return, takes about 4.2 years. That's 4 years of saying no to friends, driving the beater car, and eating leftovers. It's a grind. But getting to your second $50,000, hitting 100K, that doesn't take 4.2 years. It takes about 2.5 years. You do the exact same amount of work. You save the exact same $10,000. But because your first 50K is working alongside you, you shave almost 2 full years off the timeline. This is why $50,000 is the turning point. It is the moment where you can physically see the finish line getting closer faster than you are running toward it. Now, let's talk about your 9 to 5, because $50,000 doesn't just change your bank account, it changes your personality at work.
When you live paycheck to paycheck, you are trapped. Your boss could be terrible, the work could be mind-numbing, but you can't leave because you need next Friday's check to pay rent. This puts you in a weak negotiating position. You are terrified to ask for a raise because you're afraid of rocking the boat. $50,000 is walking away money. This is different from a standard emergency fund. An emergency fund is for when you get fired. Walking away money is for when you choose to fire your boss. This creates a psychological shift called the confidence loop. You know you can quit and survive for a year. Because you aren't desperate, you act more confident in meetings. You push back on bad ideas. You negotiate harder for your salary. Ironically, this confidence makes you more valuable, leading to promotions and raises. I have seen this happen time and time again. The person who needs the job stays stagnant. The person who can afford to leave gets the promotion. It's a superpower you hope you never have to use, but just knowing it's there changes how you operate. At $50,000, you can also take asymmetric bets. You can invest $5,000 in a friend's business. You can move to a new city for a better opportunity. You can take a pay cut to enter a field with higher long-term potential. You start seeing opportunities instead of threats. But I have to warn you, $50,000 is also the most dangerous number you will ever hit. In fact, this is where most people fail. Why? Because $50,000 is the first time you actually feel rich. You log in, you see that number, and your brain says, "We made it." And what do most people do when they feel rich? They buy a car. Specifically, they use that $50,000 as a down payment, or worse, a full cash purchase for a luxury vehicle. We have to talk about the car payment trap because it is the single biggest destroyer of wealth for the middle class. The average person spends more money on their car over their lifetime than it would take to achieve financial independence. Between payments, insurance, and gas, people drop $600 to $800 a month. Over 40 years, that's $400,000 just to get from point A to point B. Here is the tragedy of hitting $50,000. If you take that $50,000 and dump it into a car, you aren't just spending money, you are killing your employee. Remember that $5,000 a year in passive investment returns we talked about earlier? If you spend the principal, that passive income vanishes. You just fired the only worker who was paying you to do nothing. Furthermore, the moment you drive that car off the lot, it loses 20% of its value. You are voluntarily transferring your wealth into an asset that is guaranteed to go to zero. The person driving the brand new truck is usually stressed about money. The person driving the 7-year-old Honda is usually the one with the growing net worth. At $50,000, you have to choose. Do you want to look wealthy or do you want to be wealthy? You cannot do both yet. So how do you treat this $50,000? You have to view it not as a pile of cash to be spent, but as seed corn. In farming, you harvest your crops to eat, but you always save a portion of the corn to plant for next year. If you eat your seed corn, you starve next winter. $50,000 is your seed corn. It is the foundation of your entire financial empire. If you can hold the line here, if you can delay gratification just a little bit longer, that $50,000 will turn into $100,000, and that $100,000 will turn into $200,000. You have already done the hardest part. You pushed the boulder up the hill. You rewired your brain out of survival mode. You proved you can control your money instead of letting it control you. Don't let off the gas now. The math is finally on your side. If you are currently on the journey to your first $50,000, or if you just passed it, let me know in the comments below. What is the biggest invisible barrier you've faced so far? And if you want to know the exact step-by-step order to invest your money so you can hit this number faster, you need to watch this video right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.